All right, welcome to Back of the Room. My guest today is a very funny stand-up comedian, frequent guest on Bob and Tom. You can check out his dry bar comedy special called I Am Way Too Old to Be a Dad on YouTube. It's Auggie Smith. What's
happening,
up, man?
Jimmy? You know that the original name for my dry bar was Old Dad?
Oh, okay.
And it was Old Dad, and then they had that goddamn
Bill Burr,
movie
yeah.
with Bill Burr.
Okay.
And so then I didn't get to choose the next one. It's a terrible title. It's a terrible title. It's not memorable at all.
It's a little long, maybe.
Old
Dad's was a
perfect.
little shorter.
Was perfect.
Yeah.
It's got the hard D and then the hard D.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always funny.
How the show's been going?
Yeah, you know, I feel like I'm pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you got to realize I've been coming here for it's like 20 years.
Really?
I've been coming here so long that one of my first times headlining here, Birbiglia came in to do a guest set.
Really?
Like to try to get work from the club.
Uh-huh.
That's how long ago it was.
Man.
That Birbiglia was doing a guest set. Yeah. So yeah, I've seen the club at all different iterations. So yeah, it's nice to be back. But the last two times I was here, this is an absolutely true story. The last time I was here was February of 2020. It was my second to the last gig before pandemic shut everything down.
Yeah.
My very last gig was in Seattle the next week, and then everything got canceled after that. And the time before that was the week before the Ferguson riots, because they were holding like releasing the verdict, right?
Yeah.
And so like all week we didn't know what day they were going to release the verdict, and there was all this tension. I did my last show Sunday, and then they released a verdict on Monday, and then the riots started. So yeah, I'm the precursor to disaster.
Yeah. I don't know what's coming this week, but it's not looking
whatever's
good.
happening this week, man, it's my doing.
Tornado coming or something. I don't know, man.
Shouldn't have brought me.
Well, I'll try to let everybody know.
I am the harbinger of doom. Me and my scythe come to town.
Yeah, I checked out some of your set on Friday and met you then. It was nice to meet you. I know we're just now kind of getting to know each other, but yeah, it's awesome, man. Thanks for doing it. Let's get a little bit of the backstory. I saw you were from Billings.
I was raised in Billings, Montana, and I still do. I run a comedy festival there. I run Big Sky Comedy Festival.
Nice.
I say I run it. I'm one of a board of 4 people that run it.
Okay.
Because we are a nonprofit. We were always a nonprofit, but then we officially became a nonprofit.
Okay.
I mean, we never made any money, and then we decided to officially
might as well
make
then.
any money.
Might as well make it sound good.
And no, I love it. I love my comedy festival because a lot of them always seem like scams. You know, a lot of festivals and contests and stuff seem like scams, and some of them are. And we try so hard to not be that. You do have to pay to submit, and I hate that about us, but. Because if you get in, we put you up and we feed you, and we have activities every day that people go do. We used to go to a shooting range till they closed down the shooting range, and until you've seen people that have never shot a gun after they've shot a gun, it's one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
because we have industry and we have comedians there, and so we go to the shooting range, and the majority of the people have never shot a gun before.
Yeah.
And so they shoot, and some of them are totally into it right away. And some people, just the violence of it all gets to them.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're in the van home, and people are crying.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's
like
the gun just went off here.
There's a mass shooting
St. Louis
going on at the bar night. I told you,
you called it, man.
Don't bring me in. Don't bring me in. This is what happens. No, so my comedy festival, and so we also were big into having the industry and the comics actually interact, because that happens all the time at festivals where it's like they watch you, but you never really talk to them.
Yeah.
We eat together, we hang out together, we constantly facilitate conversation between them. We do panels where the industry talks to the comics directly, and they can ask them specific questions.
Nice.
And yeah, so I think we've built the most comic friendly festival there is what I think Big Sky is.
You won me over. I'm submitting this year. Right. Just try to remember me.
Remember, I have no pull.
No, I know. It's a board. I gotta
take myself out of the selection process for the most part.
Yeah.
Because it's just too hard.
Yeah.
You know, I love people, and I love some very, very funny people, but I also love some people that are, you know, they're not great.
Yeah.
I'd like to hang out with them for a week.
Yeah.
But I can't in good conscience.
That's probably good
Put
to have a
them into a
board, I
festival.
guess. You gotta delegate some stuff, yeah. But I know what you mean about shooting guns because I'm from the country,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll have friends up there that have never shot a gun, and either they're like, I've seen liberal people. I'm like, okay, well now I kind of get it. This is pretty fun because I'm whatever, but it's
Sure.
I like shooting guns. It's pretty fun. And then other people are freaked out. There's like, okay, I shot it once.
Yeah.
I never need to do that again. But
Yeah, well,
it's pretty fun.
people have different relationships with guns. I mean, there are people that know people that were victims of gun violence. So
Yeah.
guns bother them. And like with me, I was raised, like I say, in Montana, and I took hunter safety when I was 10 because that's just what you do.
Yeah.
You go out and you hunt pheasants and you shoot at deer, and it's just a thing that you do.
Yeah.
And so guns never bothered me, but I wouldn't say that I'm into them.
Yeah.
But some guys go way over the top.
That is
with
true.
their love
That
of
is true.
guns.
Yeah. You need them in Billings for the bears too. I went
Heck
there.
yeah.
They're
Bears are just coming into people's houses all the time, walking
Yeah.
down the street like they own the place.
It's crazy. I went there for my buddy coached there like 5 years ago, and then he got married in Red Lodge. You ever been there?
Very familiar with Red Lodge.
That's
It's
a pretty cool town.
yeah,
Like that,
it's a
they got
great
married
town.
at that golf
It
course.
used to be nothing. When I was a
Really?
kid, it was nothing. There's a ski lodge there, and there was a little tiny town where 500 locals lived.
It's
and
still
now
kind of
this
small,
boom
but
town,
yeah, I'm sure it's kind of catching on. But it was awesome. Like there's the scenery and everything. It was great. But yeah, that's good to know. Auggie, is that short for anything?
No, it's a nickname that I got in high school. My given name is Kevin Smith.
Oh, like the Silent Bob?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly like the Silent Bob.
Okay.
And so it would be a tough name to have, but it's kind of funny sometimes. I did this charity gig a few years ago where they had to buy my plane ticket as Kevin Smith because I fly everything in my life is Kevin Smith
Yeah.
outside of stand-up comedy, and they hooked me up with a concierge. Have you ever had that in an
No,
airport
never.
where a guy meets you and then just like walks you through everything? Oh, it's fantastic.
That's got to be awesome.
Anyway, he assumed that I was the other Kevin Smith and was telling me a story on the phone about the last time that we hung out. And I did not say otherwise.
Yeah,
And
well,
it
might
just
as well
for him
just
to look at me and just because you never quite know. You see a guy is like, oh, that's not that guy, but you don't know.
Yeah.
I could be Kevin Smith. He could be bald in real life. That could be a thing. You don't know.
You never know.
People look different on camera.
Yeah.
And I made me and the wife, we had a date night in L.A. and I made the reservation to give them the credit card in my name. Oh my God! They thought I was going to be Kevin Smith because we got this big corner table and they started bringing us free appetizers and stuff.
Nice.
And the manager came out and said hello to us. It's fantastic.
Dinner reservations and
Yeah.
flying. You're doing great. I'd keep milking that as long as you
but
can.
there was no Auggie Smiths until this asshole Peacemaker show came out, and now
Okay.
the Robert Patrick character T-1000 is Auggie Smith. That's
Really?
his name on the show.
Huh.
And I haven't watched it, but apparently he's like an old racist. So
Well, that's no good.
That's what they're doing to the good name, the good name of Auggie Smith.
Well, I guess you could switch it up one more time, but that's it. You can't. You got to pick.
Yeah, I think I'm stuck now.
You think you'd be safe with Augie Smith, but you never know.
I guess I could still reinvent myself, huh?
You got time.
Yeah. I'm only going to live for another decade or so.
You keep talking about how you're so old, but you don't look.
I am old.
You don't look that old. I mean, I don't know.
54 freaking years old, man.
Okay. Well.
That's old. I was
Well.
born in 1970. 1970. 7-0. I'm working with a kid this weekend that was born in 2001.
Yeah.
2001 he was born.
Yeah. That even hurts me a little. Just anybody past 2000, because they're like, they
Yeah.
can drink, they can do everything.
Yeah. And they
kinda
were
weird.
born after 2000.
Yeah.
And
'Cause
when I
that's
was
what
a
they,
kid, 2000 seemed so far away.
Yeah.
You know what they don't tell you about getting older? Is that everybody that was old when you were a kid dies. Like, every single person when I was a kid that was old is dead now. Like, and then you know what happens? You know what happens? Is the guys your age start dying.
Yeah.
And they don't die because of a car wreck. They die just because they die. You
Yeah.
die of stuff.
Yeah.
And, man, it starts to freak you out. most of my Facebook posts are eulogizing people at this point every damn week.
No,
It's
it's.
just-
I'm not there yet,
gotta
but
think
it does suck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you got to think of a good story about each one of the dead guys.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Not everybody, you don't have a good story with everybody you know.
Yeah.
Some people are just people that you like.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the Bill Burr bit where he's like people that he didn't like. He's like, guy paid his bills on time. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was here, now he's gone, that
Yeah.
whole thing. And
Yeah.
here's what I'm also going to tell you. Take a lot of pictures with your suicidal friends. Because what happens is they eventually do it, right? The inevitable happens.
Yeah.
And then you got to write the post about it, but then you don't have a good picture with them. Like my buddy Richard Bain, 5 years ago, he requested an early checkout, as they say, and I'm digging through my pictures because I've known this guy for 20 years. We've spent a lot of time together. I should have many. The only picture I have is at 3 a.m. at a house party, and he's holding like a 2-foot, like a foam dildo, right? And I'm on my knees as though I'm sucking it. And that's the only picture I have with just the two of us. And I thought, how hilarious would that be to send it to the memorial?
Yeah.
And like a horseshoe of flowers, and then that picture.
Yeah.
To
Put
my
that
bu-
up on the
To my
board. Yeah.
buddy Rich.
Yeah. That's pretty good, man. That's good advice. Taking pictures with suicidal people.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
I don't have a ton of
just
friends.
just some old people that you think are on their way out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've been a little sad, so I'll just take selfies, I guess.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's great though. I saw one thing in your bio. Got second at the Seattle comedy competition
I didn't get
to
second.
Mitch.
Oh
Hedberg.
yeah, and okay. This is going back. This was 97.
Okay.
Good Lord. And I was working out of Portland, and I was like, it was really strong. I had they call it different things, but I had found my voice. I had figured out how to do stand-up comedy. It took me about 6 years. Then I figured it out, and I was getting really good at it. And so I was sure that I was going to win. Because the Seattle contest, when you're in Portland, when you're in the Pacific, is a very big deal to us as to who wins it. And so, I was ready to go. And then I get up there, and Mitch was in town because he was editing his movie. He made a movie about working in a Mexican restaurant. And I think it's got Felicia Michaels in it. Is Tig in it? I think Tig might be in it. Anyway, so that's why he just decided to do the contest because he was there anyway. Right? And I had never seen him. I had heard about him, but I had never seen him before. And good God, the first night that I saw him, I was like, well, nobody's going to beat this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is... And so the contest, the way it works is that at the time, you had a round where you got 15 of you, and then they cut it down to the top 10 and then the top 5. So it's a 3-week thing. And you do like 5 shows in the week, but you do them at all different sorts of venues. Sometimes you're in a bar. Sometimes you're at a military base. Sometimes you're in a theater. Sometimes you're in a casino. You're in all these different places. So you got to be good at lots of different kinds of comedy. And the thing about Mitch is that every night, no matter, even if he's only doing a 10-minute set, he would open in the moment. He would open saying something about the venue, about the day, about the other comics that had been up. That was his first minute every night, and it was just something. I was so impressed by that. Yeah, that he never had to go to a crutch of just some opening joke. Yeah, and then just went on to crush. Yeah, man, Mitch. So he started doing the gigs that we all do. Like he started like on triple runs and doing bars and doing like the bar at the Red Lion in Pendleton, Oregon, right? Opening for another comic and then a DJ. Yeah. Right? And just imagine that. Imagine Hedberg in that environment. Yeah. The stories of him bombing are absolutely oh my God. I followed him into the Davenport Funny Bone. He had been the feature the week before. And they just hated him every night. And one night, apparently, Mitch just goes, all right, guys, I'm going to leave stage now, and you're going to want to applaud, but don't. So he just walks off stage in complete silence, no music or anything. And so after I heard about that, I thought that was the greatest thing I've ever heard. And so in my life, I've done that like 10 or 15 times when the show hasn't gone well. As a tribute
that's a good
to
move.
this great story about Mitch. Yeah. The other great thing I loved about Mitch was he didn't suffer fools. Like, if sometimes you're after a gig, some loudmouth is barking in your ear or whatever. And so if you'd see Mitch at the bar and there's some dude chatting him up and he doesn't want to talk to the guy, he would go, "Hey, Auggie, come here. This guy wants to meet you."
Just pulling him
As
off.
you're shaking this guy's hand, he just disappears. He's just a ninja into the crowd.
It's
And
a
then
good
you
move.
say to the guy, "Did you want to meet me?" He's like, "No, I didn't bring you up at all. I don't even know who you are."
That's great. So you got to hang out with him every now and then, or kind of when you cross
Yeah,
paths?
I wouldn't say that we were great friends. I wouldn't say that about us. But we were friendly, and I liked him very much. And I saw him 1 year at Montreal, and this must have been, I don't know, 99. And I went and had lunch with him. And he had just come from, you need a new studio, man.
I know.
You need a new studio.
The audience, this is great for audio. You know,
like,
the
is this
doors slam.
Is this recorded in the back of a moving garbage truck? Good God, man.
Thanks, Spence.
Oh yeah, so I go and have lunch with him, and he's telling me the story. He goes, he says, "Yeah, man, I was just down in Jamaica, and another guy at the hotel was he was one of the guys in Depeche Mode, I think, a band like that. He was one of the guys in Depeche Mode, so he was hanging out with like one of the Depeche Mode guys, and he said, yeah, one night he's playing his guitar and he's singing a song, and I'm tapping on my can." And I'm thinking, man, I'm pretty good at tapping on this can. Maybe we could go around and he could play guitar and I could tap on my can. So I'm dying laughing. He's telling this story. And then I go to one of his shows at Montreal, like that night or the next night. And he does that bit.
That's
like
great.
He had already turned it in.
Yeah.
I forget what his punchline was, but he'd already turned it into a joke. And it's like at Montreal,
Yeah.
at like the most
That's
important
crazy.
stage in comedy at the time. And he man, that guy was amazing. Yeah. What a brilliant comedy mind he was.
Yeah, big fan for sure. That's awesome. You got to kind of cross paths with him.
Yeah, and he's become so popular with young people that you see his influence in their writing a lot now. Like you even sort of hear his rhythm in other people when they start speaking, because he had a very original just sort of way of speaking.
Yeah.
It wasn't really an accent. It was just a interesting way of talking.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that was pretty there was probably a period like after he got popular that there was probably hundreds of people doing that kind of style. Or not even that style, but that kind of cadence, I guess. But yeah, he's the man. You're the man. That was a great story. Let's get into some comedy questions here.
Comedy.
So you started doing it in the area you grew up in, or did you start in a... Where'd you start
my
exactly?
first ever time on stage, I was 18, and there was a bar in Billings called Casey's Golden Pheasant, and I did a show there. And then I ended up doing like 3 or 4 more shows in Billings, and then I moved to Chicago. And when I moved to Chicago in 1989, at the end of 1989, there were 14 working clubs in Chicago.
Wow.
There was 3 clubs in the suburb of Rosemont alone.
Man,
There was so many clubs.
that's
and
crazy.
there was so much stage time to be had. And there was a place downtown called the Funny Firm. And the Funny Firm had a live 4-piece band that would bring the acts up at the open mic.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way comedy was thought of at the time. And then it started to die. For a few different reasons, I left Chicago and then I moved to Portland. And that's when I really started going hard on comedy. And that would have been 90, end of 90.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like kind of when the big boom was like right happening and then kind of right after
Well,
fizzled a little.
Yeah, mid-'80s is when there was really the boom. And then, I kind of missed all that. But, I mean, I've seen a resurgence of stand-up comedy over the last 10 years. I mean, just in my town of Portland, there's so many comedians now that nobody even knows me. I left 13 years ago and moved to L.A., And I had been in Portland basically for 20 years, and now nobody there knows who the hell I am.
There's a lot of people,
fine. It's
people
fine.
doing
I'm
it.
not upset about it. It isn't like I started rooms and I ran writing sessions and I did everything I could to get people stage time or anything. I mean, why would you remember that stuff?
Come on, Portland.
Just because I did it the right way and tried to help people the entire doesn't mean that should be remembered.
They should at least get like a plaque or something. I mean, Portland, do the right
Yeah,
thing.
come on,
Fuck.
Portland, do the right thing.
But you mentioned you
Where's
kind of
my bailout?
you mentioned you were doing it 6-7 years and you found your voice. How did you know you found your voice?
Yeah, well, it's because when you start doing it, like the first time I went on stage, I did basically Bobby Slayton's act because I honestly didn't know you couldn't do other people's jokes. So I didn't understand that.
I've heard that from a
that
few other
rule
people.
in stand-up, because I didn't have anybody. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anybody that had been doing it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of had to teach myself when I was in Billings. And then I went to Chicago, and there was a couple people that tried a little bit that, who I used to do open mics with was Jimmy Dore.
Okay.
Jimmy Dore. He's the only one I think still around that I was doing open mics with back then. But yeah, there was a couple guys who were trying to be helpful to me. But then when I got to Portland, that's when I got better because some of the older comics actually, would started telling me stuff. And like, here's how you MC a show, and here's how you do morning radio. Because there's no school for this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very hard to pick it up on your own, and you need somebody to teach you. So I'm going to tell you, do you know how to MC a show?
I think I do, but I mean,
you do not. No,
I don't know if I know the Auggie Smith way, but I got the basics, I think, down.
Right, so you're going to MC a show. It's going to be 2 people on the show besides yourself most of the time, right? If you're not MCing a long show or a feature set show. So the club sometimes is going to want you to make announcements. They're going to want you to tell what the drink specials are or who else is coming in. Now, there's a lot of mistakes that young comics make. What you do when you're emceeing a show is you walk onto the stage, you say good evening, you tell them who you are, then you tell them the other acts on the show. Even if they've already been announced from the back, you say your feature tonight is whomever, they applaud. You say your headliner tonight is whomever, they applaud. And then you start doing jokes, okay? Because now they've applauded 3 times. After they applaud 3 times, you got to start saying jokes. These people that are just, they do the announcements up top.
Give it up for that. Give it up for that.
Give it up for everything.
Yeah,
They've applauded 7, 8 times before you've done anything to earn anything.
Yeah.
Okay? And know that your first couple minutes, man, they might be a little bit rough because they're getting used to hearing jokes. They're getting used to the rhythm of hearing a joke and then responding to it. So it isn't your job to crush as the MC. Your job is to run the show tightly and to get them ready for comedy. And if you can get some laughs, wonderful.
Yeah.
And you do the announcements in between the acts, okay? Because you're not going to be able to do any material in between an act. You don't get any laughs there. And the only reason you would do material is if the feature act crushes so hard that the headliner needs some sort of leeway there. So to have you bomb for a little while.
Yeah.
To smooth it out for him.
Yeah. Those are all good tips. I feel like I do all that stuff if I'm hosting.
And also,
but
when you're
not everybody does.
When you're introing somebody, oh my God, don't do the thing where you go, all right, I'm going to bring on your next act. Let's start clapping.
I don't
and
like
then
that
they're
either,
doing the intro over the clapping so they
Yeah.
can't hear. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. And then the other mistake, and not many comics do this, but like if you go into the world and like, some regular person brings you on stage, they'll say your name first and then they'll do your intro. Obviously, you do the intro and the last thing you say is the person's name. That is very, very important.
That's all good. That's all that way to do it for sure. So the Auggie Smith way of hosting. Those are all good tips.
And somebody taught me that. They taught me that.
Yeah.
Like, there was no... I wasn't going to figure that out on my own. And once somebody taught me that, I became a much better MC.
Yeah.
And that's back when you could actually make money. The club in Portland in 1994 used to pay $350 for the week to MC. There's
Wow.
clubs that don't pay that to feature now, and this is 30 years ago.
Man.
Yeah, and I mean, I think my rent at the time was like $250. So yeah, you could actually make a living.
That's wild. So hopped around a little bit, and where you at now? You're in L.A.?
I'm living in Los Angeles, in the Valley. Your act is going to be about your life, right? You don't want to have an act that has nothing to do with your life. So when I was a young man, I talked about young man stuff. And when I was a single man, I talked about single man stuff. And when I drank too much and partied too much, I talked about that, right? But now I'm an old man with a house and with 3 kids and a wife, and I do an act that reflects that,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
You're a person, and so it's like when I was young, my act doesn't look anything like it looked then. It has nothing to do. That guy existed for a while, but that guy is long gone. And I'll tell you the other thing, and I realize I'm getting off on a lot of topics here, but
No, it's all good.
the big thing with guys my age is they talk about what you can and can't say on stage. I'm going to tell you this. I have said things on stage in the past that I would not say today. Not because people would respond to them badly, but because I'm a different person.
Yeah.
I'm not a person that says those words anymore. I'm not a person that, would go after that person on stage anymore. And so I don't feel I'm selling anybody out then. I think that that's personal growth.
Yeah, evolving. Everybody changes.
Yeah.
You're kind of evolving your act
I
with
used
your
words
with your
before
life.
that I wouldn't use now.
Yeah.
And that isn't a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. But there's guys my age that still use all those words, and that's fine too, man.
Yeah, I mean,
That's fine too.
yeah, I agree, man. What's your writing process like? Has that evolved at all, or kind of somewhere?
Man, so I've always done really well with meeting with other comics and throwing around ideas and stuff. And there's here's a way to write, young comics. Sorry,
Perfect timing.
The
Perfect
garbage
time.
truck just hit a bus. It was an empty bus. It was going back to the shop, so we're fine. Okay, here's a proper writing session. Get 4 or 5 comics together, right? And you always want to write with stand-ups. You don't want to write with writers or people on the fringes of our thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just got to be people that do our thing. You have a timer. Everybody gets 7 minutes. So for 7 minutes, anything that's said belongs to that person. Any punchline that comes up as a result of what they're throwing out belongs to that person.
Okay.
Obviously, you can say, "Oh, I'm never going to use it. You can have it," or whatever. But those are the rules, and then you go around and you take your 7 minutes like that. And I'm telling you, the thing is, you have one idea of a joke and where it's supposed to go and where the funny is. And then you talk to somebody else, and they have a completely different idea of where the funny is that never exists, that you didn't think about at all.
Yeah,
So
that's interesting.
No, man. Yeah, I really enjoy writing with other people. I really enjoy writing with other comics, and also because I have a hard time just disciplining myself to sitting down, because the idea of writing a joke is that you take an idea and then you make that idea as big as you possibly can. You come up with as many punchlines as you possibly can having to do with that particular topic. And then you trim that down. You take all the superfluous words out and all the punchlines that don't work out. And maybe you're left with a 4-minute bit, and maybe you're left with one line.
Yeah.
But you make
cut
it
all
as
the
big
fat
as you
off of it,
can,
yeah.
And then you just cut and you cut and you cut.
Yeah. That's good
Because
advice.
that's the thing about this job, man. It's the superfluous words. When you do a TV set, they have you do 4.5 minutes. And when you try to put your act into 4.5 minutes, that's a rough set. It's a very hard thing to do. But then you start taking out all the words that aren't absolutely necessary to the punchline, and you think, well, why don't I write like this all the time?
Yeah.
Why isn't my whole act just a long 4.5 minute set?
Uh-huh.
Why would I be saying these other things anyway?
That makes sense.
We use comics. We need to understand that they know that it's a show. They know that you're up there spinning stories and telling jokes. You don't need to establish that.
Yeah.
One thing that comics do, and even some comics that I really like do, that drives me absolutely nuts, is they ask the crowd a question about whatever what topic they want to talk about. Like, hey, do you guys watch game shows? Well, of course they fucking watch game shows. Everybody's watched a game show. And if they don't watch game shows, what are you going to do? Not do the bit?
Yeah.
Okay? If you have a bit about game shows, just do the bit. Don't ask them a question, because now they think they can pipe up at any time.
Yeah.
Now they've become part of the show. You can't ask your crowd a question and then get mad when they talk later. You've already opened that door, and you've said to them, all right, you're part of this thing now. You're not part of that thing.
Yeah.
When I'm on stage, you're not part of that thing. I'm not going to ask you one goddamn thing. You can just sit quietly and enjoy the show I'm putting on.
Yeah. That's a great tip there for sure.
Yeah, man. And it's just a way of filling the silence. It's just a way of I'm going to talk about this now. Just talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to say it, just say it. You don't got to tell them you're going to say it. Here's
true.
what I'm going to say.
Yeah. That was great advice.
Elapsed time, a year and a half.
Yeah. We'll be right back, everybody, with more Back of the Room. All right, we're back. Sitting here with Auggie Smith, talking comedy. Had some great advice, had some great stories already.
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
Is that at this point, you can say that I'm not funny. You can say that I'm not successful. You can say that I'm fat. You can say that I'm bald. You can say a lot of stuff about me. But I do know about this thing. I do know about stand-up.
Yeah.
And I feel that I have a responsibility to say those things because people said them to me. Like there was two guys that taught me how to do morning radio. There's a guy named John McClellan and there's another guy named Steve Barkley. And and another guy named Mark Ledholm. And basically, when you go in to do morning radio, for a little while, you are the star of that show. Like normally it's, Philip and Rocco or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're doing their thing. But for 10 minutes, they can take a break and you can just be funny. Because it doesn't matter what they ask you. It doesn't matter if they ask you where you're from or whatever. You have something to say, so say that thing. And don't be afraid to do bits. Don't be afraid to do bits. You're in there plugging yourself. You're plugging yourself usually for a club weekend or for a theater week, whatever it may be. And if you're going to plug it, then show them a sample of what they're going to see. When you see a movie trailer, it's not a guy talking about the movie and how much he enjoyed making the movie. No, it's pieces of the movie.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do it, don't be afraid to do bits, man.
That's good advice,
okay
too.
to
I mean,
be
you do
funny
10
in the
minutes
moment.
of your stuff, and then they'll probably go back into their segments or whatever.
Yeah,
but
and if they ask you for the lead-in, then fine. Take it. Take the lead-in.
Good to know.
Yeah, man.
Good to know.
Yeah, and don't be passive. Don't sit back, and don't give them monosyllabic answers. It's like,
I mean, you're there. They want you to
where'd you
be the
fly in
guest.
from? Here's the answer to that.
Yeah. Any? I mean, you've already given some great advice. Did anybody give you like something early on that you hung on to besides the hosting stuff, or just something like a
There's
phrase
so many
you
things.
hung on to?
There was a guy I worked with one time called Franchi San Pedro, and he's still around, man.
It's a good name.
But I was like 2 years in, and I was featuring for him at all these gigs through Colorado, and I'm just sucking, just bombing. And he said to me the simplest thing that's always stuck with me. He said, when you're on stage, it's your show, is what he said. And I started to think, for that half hour, I'm responsible for the room. I am the entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I am the show.
Yeah.
You need to act as such. You need to be worthy of that, of being the show. And, man, that changed a lot of stuff, too.
That's good advice.
Because you have to have that attitude. You can't have a passive attitude of, what are you guys doing? No, this is what's happening now.
Yeah, that's great advice. And even that kind of ties into the asking questions, because that could open up, hecklers or other problems and
chaos.
taking it off
Absolute
of the show.
Chaos.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
That's good advice. It's good advice. What would you say like your Mount Rushmore of favorite comedians is, or top 3, whatever?
Man, so just because of what they mean to me, like Bobby Slayton, his young comedian special that he did, I memorized it. Like it was on HBO, and you have the little HBO guide, and it used to be like a little square thing that came in the mail, and it would tell you
Like when
each
it's coming
time
up.
something was running that month, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I'd be sure to be by the TV just so I could watch his set. And then, yeah, when I first went on stage, I did his jokes.
Did somebody like call you out on it? Or like, I think it sounds familiar or something. Or how did you know
no,
that
because
not to do that?
There was no other comedians.
Oh, okay.
So there was nobody to tell me you can't do that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And but I figured it out pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good you weren't like 2 years in.
Yeah,
still doing it
he
or
would
something.
be one that wouldn't be on a lot of people's Mount Rushmore, but he's definitely for me. Yeah, personally for me. Yeah, I'll tell you another influential one when I was young was Dennis Miller. Man, went to go see him live. God dang, just the sharpness of the jokes, and what he did was he assumed that his crowd was smart enough to hear what he was saying. He didn't dial it back at all. He just assumed their knowledge. And that's another thing. It's like if you're going to tell a story about something, if you have to explain the whole thing, that's not fun for anybody.
Yeah.
Just do the reference. Just do the joke. And either they get it or they don't get it. But you can't explain that this is what happened and then tell them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like percentage-wise. You want a high percentage of them to get what you're saying or get a smart reference, but it doesn't have to be everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I mean, there's a lot of guys that I like that their actions have affected the way I think of them. I used to be a big Bill Cosby guy when I was young. Man, I loved me some Bill Cosby. But have a hard time hearing it now.
Yeah, that's some actions there that you can't come back from.
How do you do with that, separating the comic from the person?
Phew, man, with that one it's tough. But I mean, like for so many years, he was like so many people's number one, guy.
Yeah.
So it's like with anybody too. It's like the severity of it or whatever. But like I heard an old Kanye song the other day, and I was like, God damn it, this is a good song.
Yeah.
But he's a fucking maniac.
Right. Woody Allen. I used to love Woody Allen movies. And then I watched that documentary.
Yeah,
I
saw
wow,
that too.
This guy's a goddamn monster.
Yeah.
I mean, I was fine when he had just married his stepdaughter. I was fine with him marrying his stepdaughter. But the other stuff is just wrong.
Yeah.
Because you got to draw a line,
You got to draw a line
You got to draw a line.
That's true. And there's a clear line with Cosby for sure. I got a segment for you.
All right.
Done it a couple times, I think. It's called "What the Fuck Are We Doing Here?" So, just usually it's something like you saw somebody out in the wild, or not the wild, I guess, but out in public, just do something that's not socially acceptable, or just dumb, or something that annoyed you, something like that. I could start us off here just to give you a taste.
Let's get the ball rolling there, Jim.
People around here and everywhere are really bad drivers, but I drive a lot for work.
Okay.
And it just seems like I'm almost dying all the time now because people can't drive. There'll be somebody next to me. They'll just swerve into my lane, and then they act like nothing happened. There's no, oh, my God, I'm sorry. No wave. Mm-hmm. No sorry that I almost killed you.
Right.
It's just like, well, what the hell were you doing there? Almost like you can't read their mind, but they're dicks.
They should follow you home, and they should write you a check.
They should do something
for the terrible thing that they did.
Venmo me, maybe.
Right.
Something.
Is that too much to ask?
I'm only asking for a wave.
That's
just
it.
Like,
some
sorry.
Acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Right.
Terrible.
Right.
And then I go to the extreme too of the rebuttal. So if I can get in front of them, I'll do a long finger up through the moonroof.
Wow, all the way out.
All the way
So
up and out.
There's air hitting your
Yeah.
hand.
Or I'll go out the
Like,
window this way.
Perhaps a
Depends.
bird might fly down and you would...
And then I'll hold it up until they, aren't behind me anymore.
Okay, yeah, just
So
keep it there.
I think
Right. So you're not subtle
length.
about it. They don't have to wonder, was that guy flipping me off?
Yeah.
No.
They're going to know.
That guy was flipping me off.
Yeah, and then if they're in front of me,
Sure.
I'll do the horn as long as I can.
Okay.
Because, there's no time limit on the horn. If
And
you
also-
hold your hand on there, it's going to be.
fuck everybody else, too,
Yeah,
right?
kind of.
You have a beef with this guy, and they're all going to have to live with it.
Yeah.
So
Then-
now they're all mad at you for the
It's-
guy that leaned on his horn for an hour and a half while he was at a red light.
Yeah, these are better when there's not a lot of it's not
Right.
a ton of traffic. This would be a one-on-one kind of deal.
Right,
ideally.
taking out innocent bystanders.
I'll give them a
yeah.
20-second one if there's traffic, but I'll lay on it even longer if it's me and the other guy. So
Can I tell you something here?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. And this is something that a guy named Dwight Slade told me, who was a great comic. Used to be out of Portland. Now he's in Boise. Anyway, he said that driving is the only thing that we do as a community where everyone is equal. Everybody in a car or a truck or a van, they're all equal because we all have to go by the same damn rules. And if anybody breaks those rules, there's a wreck, and we're all affected by it.
yeah,
So that's wonderful that there's still something as a community that we do together that is driving, that is getting down the road. And when somebody gets mad at you, because here's what happens. People make mistakes in this world. It happens. Somehow in our cars we get distracted. I don't know what's there to be distracted by, except for the dashboard full of electronics.
yeah, the
and
computer in your
games
pocket,
and the access to the some knowledge of the universe in your hand.
yeah,
I don't know, but somehow sometimes we get distracted.
Yeah.
And people make mistakes. And I'm going to tell you something. In your calm, you win. When there's the other person in traffic that's mad at you, when you're calm, you win. Like that guy that you were flipping off all the way down the road.
He deserved it. But I know what you mean.
That guy sucks.
Yeah,
I'm
But
talking
in general,
about everybody else in the world.
Yeah.
Not that particular guy.
Yeah.
Because he sounds like a real piece of crap, that guy.
That is good advice. In general, I'll try to be more calm when minor
Yes.
mistakes happen.
Yes, man. Yes, because we're doing it. We're doing something as a group. Good for us.
Yeah.
There's still one thing where it's one man, one vote.
That's
and it's
true.
out there on the freeways, Pally.
I'll keep that in mind. But that was my start to the segment here. You got anything for?
We live down the street from a Walmart, and my wife is taken to making orders, and then you just pull into their pickup space, and then they bring you out your stuff. Right? And she doesn't trust me to go into Walmart on my own. I guess there's too many hot women there, and she doesn't like me parading around in front of them. Anyway, so I sit there and I wait, and it often takes a long time because it's Walmart. And every time there's a guy that's in a tiny car that has brought out a huge, huge thing that he wants the people that he ordered, like the guys that work there, he wants them to tie it to the roof. I mean, I'm not kidding you. This
like a flat screen TV or something.
Once a week.
Okay, yeah.
I see some ridiculous comical thing trying to be tied to the top of an old Celica. And it just every time. And I watch him work on it. I've never seen the end result because I've always gotten my stuff and I've had to leave. But most of the time, the Walmart guys are like, "No, we can't. This can't be done. What you're asking, this is not physics."
Or
It's
the
not
people that try to fit it into a space that's obviously not going to fit.
It's not gonna
80-inch TV into a Honda.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You know,
go
it's
there.
like that's not going to ever work.
Simple tape measure will prove to you
Yeah.
the folly of your thesis, sir.
What the fuck are we doing here, folks? Well, I know you got to get ready for the show, so we'll wrap things up. Where
All
can
right.
people find you, social media, all that kind of stuff?
AuggieSmith.com. Instagram is Smith Auggie. Facebook is Auggie Smith. It's 2 G's. I still have a Twitter. I don't post there anymore Because, my God, that place, it's just so harsh.
Yeah.
It's just so harsh. Any joke is met with anger.
Yeah.
It's all anger. And there's nobody keeping it light on there anymore. There used to be a couple guys keeping it light, just throwing punchlines out there. But, yeah, they ain't around anymore.
No, it's definitely not.
And I was trying to fight the good fight for Goofy, but no, nobody was interested.
I think you made the
But
right
I'm
call.
still
but
there. I'm still there, lurking.
Yeah, you're around. Well, make sure to check out all the social media stuff. A lot of funny stuff online. We're going to wrap things up. Get ready for your show.
Okay.
Auggie Smith, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to and or watching Back of the Room.